Furality? Welcome to the Furality DevOps panel, Taming the Virtual Jungle. I hope you guys had a wonderful convention so far. We still got the rest of the day today, and as you've noticed the schedule change, we are keeping the tradition of having an awesome after party in Club Fin and some other worlds that you'll be hearing about soon. So let's get this thing kicked off. We have quite a few new additions to the team since Aqua. We are currently standing at 27 members across the world. We got Rollin, Canyon, ISO, Nova, Marty, Shally, Christoph, Rhubarb, Patrol, Miagic, Benacle, Pseudo, Valent, Arch, Konika, Techie, Ghost, Janaeos, myself, Alafox, Kakius, Nerdy, Monty, Java Hound, Spinner, Radsky, Dami, and Shoki. Hopefully I said all those names right, and that's a lot to do on one breath. So a bunch of people, we do quite a few things, and this panel is all about what we've learned since running Furality as this massive online convention, growing through all of the technical challenges of doing a thing that isn't really done anywhere else, and then being successful and having to deal with being successful, as well as maybe hopefully some insights that we have, and of course to talk about some of the challenges we've had, and I hope you join us in our little bit of memes that we have in this panel. It's all in good fun. So what does the Furality DevOps department do? Of course, some obvious things. We have the Furality.org main website. That's the website that everybody can see around the year. It has, basic information of the convention. And then we also have a couple other public-facing websites like apply.furality.org, which is where before the convention you sign up for, wanting to present a panel or, DJs or whatever, and team.furality.org, which is where we host sort of like a job board for volunteer positions at Furality on its own webpage. And then we have the Convention Fox portal, which is the attendee-only system where you registered for the convention and is your kind of gateway to everything going on. It's how you've been getting around the whole con. There's, of course, a bunch of internal tools that we need to keep it all working. We're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as the APIs that run all these websites and also depend on each other. And infrastructure for dealing with all that. We have to host this code somewhere, and we have to deliver it to you. So we're going to have a section on that. And, of course, streaming this. You're watching this right now, whether you're in a world and you see me on this hologram, or you're on Twitch and you see the camera feed. All of this has to get from my computer to the streaming to your screen. So we kind of have a piece in that of figuring out how to get A to B, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Something that we're doing for the first time in this panel is talking about what we don't do. So we get a couple questions, whether myself or some other members on the team, or just general questions I see in Discord is, what about this or what about that? And I just want to kind of talk about some of them that is just not something that our team covers. First thing on here is sleep, or at least getting enough sleep. Hopefully most of the team has been getting at least a decent amount of sleep. I'm trying my best. Not doing too great on the hour count right now, but I'm good right now. Host VRChat. VRChat is a platform that we use. It is run by VRChat. We have nothing to do with that. So all of the private world instances that you guys are in during the convention, that's on VRChat's platform. We are using their platform, but we don't have any control of it. We don't have our own custom servers running it. That is not within our bubble of control or anything like that. It's just the platform that we're using. And sort of as an extension of that, we are not developers for VRChat. So all of the features in the game and what you can do on the client, that is entirely a separate entity. We have no say on that. We can't tell them to add a feature. It's not like that. So, when we all want something, we just kind of make it on that feedback board and say, hey, all 200 and some staff, let's all vote on this. And, that helps on our end, but that's about as far as it goes. So also, we do not host Discord. So when there's a Discord outage like this morning, there's nothing I or my team can do about that. And we just, hope that it comes back because our entire staff team uses this same Discord that you guys are all interacting in to communicate. And when that goes down, it makes our jobs a lot harder. As sort of a poke at the system here, we don't know where your friends are sometimes, maybe. You may have noticed that the location tracking in the Fox portal is a little bit of hit and miss. It's not an instant read. Hopefully it works most of the time. Sometimes it lags behind if you're jumping. We don't really have a good way to deal with that. Just based on how things are cached in various places before it gets to us, and we could see you in 5 instances because it hasn't noticed that you left yet. So it's a hard problem to solve. We might touch on it, but just bear with us. We do have a new button for you if you haven't noticed. If you're in a party and you go to the instance page, you can click join with party, and it just sends all of you at the same time. You don't have to join and then wait for it to update to invite everybody else. So hopefully that helps a little bit. We know it's not real time. I'm sorry. And then another thing we don't do, but I do want to touch on, is thousands of hours of work put in by everybody else on the Furality team, and even those some in the community that help us out. Like, all these worlds are built by the creative department. Lots and lots of hours over the past months have been going into this. And even throughout the convention, you probably have been noticing updates happening in real time, making all the worlds better. And the stream team streaming this, the communications department trying to get the information out to you, and all the photos and all of this. It's 200 people. Sounds like a lot, but it's really barely even enough, maybe, and this is a massive thing. So quick hearts in the chat for the Furality team that we help bring the content to you on the website. We help get you into the worlds, but the rest of the team is what's building the experience. All right. I skipped forward a little bit, but I'd like to bring up Ghost, a new person to our team.
Hi, I am Ghost, or Ghost on the Coast here in VRChat, and Ala brought me on to be the project manager for DevOps. So I just wanted to give you a quick tour of what project management is. But first, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a definition. I don't want to spend too much time on the technicals because there's an amazing team up here that really wants to get to the technicals and tell you about their great work. So, the project manager is somebody that comes onto a team, usually in the beginning, sometimes a bit towards the middle of the team, and they organize everything and they get stuff going. As you can see up there, in the beginning, there was Z-Plan. This is how projects start. People write cocktail napkins, blackboards, whatever they got. They write down some stuff. What? Oh, I can actually hit the slides. Cool. Okay, so the plan, like I said, this is how projects start. Your project manager usually doesn't come on at this point unless it's a very well-organized beginning. Then there are lists and diagrams and lists and lists and so many lists. You can see towards the end they get a little bit more organized. You're sticking them in folders, but realistically, it's a different way of organizing a spreadsheet. And then we move on to the charts and graphs. You can see the actual Sylva memory usage on this slide at infinity%. That's everything, guys. Seriously. The graphs everywhere. This is like 4 of about 400 that I think Kakius himself has made. And then you start to get things organized. This is where I came on. You can see you start with some Gantt charts because you probably don't have a tool. Then you kind of put together your process planning. The process is how you keep things going and you keep the quality up. So at this point, you're kind of looking at how am I going to keep a track of everything that's reported to me in world, out of world. My devs got to talk about it. Things that the creative team finds that's a problem. That's where your process planning starts. And process planning never really ends, but it usually gets to a point where we are now, where you have a project management tool. And that, honestly, is about the best you get for project management, because once you've got a tool and you've got a process, you can fix that process. And, we started off with some processes that might not have worked out so well. There's a few steps in there that aren't so good, but we're going to fix those right after this event. And then we're going to keep doing it because we want to make sure everything works. And we want to make sure that you have the best possible experience you can have. And that's where I'm going to step back, and I am going to let Arch come up here and tell you guys about the infrastructure team. Arch is the guy that has redefined uptime as the amount of time you can hold a server over your head. Come on up, Arch.
Thank you very much,
Just
Ghost.
before you start, I wanted to give a thank you to Ghost. Here, why don't we not stand in front of each other?
Yeah.
I really appreciate you joining the team. We just happened to be working on getting a project manager for the creative department, and you had applied and you had a background in dev. And it's like, you know what, we could really use that, because I'm sure my team is tired of the random DMs and scribbles of paper that I just take a screenshot of and send. And it's like, hey, yeah, let's do this. And it's brought a little bit of order to the chaos. It's still a little chaotic, but it's really, I think, helped.
And just one more thing. It is my job to protect these guys from way too much problems and feature requests. So if you get a feature request that's denied, it's probably my fault. And I'm sorry about that, but I got to keep their heads above water.
Yeah. All right. Take it away, Arch.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Arch. I'm the DevOps infrastructure lead at Furality. With me on my team, I have Rallen, Nova, Shoki, and Techie, and my second, Janaeos. So let's talk a little bit about our infrastructure. So between Furality Aqua and Furality Sylva, honestly, our cluster went through a fair number of changes. So if you've seen our panel before, you probably know that we're running everything in Kubernetes. It's a very nice platform for orchestrating containers and getting code running. We've stuck with that for sort of two main reasons that I'll get to shortly. But just as a quick sort of update from Aqua, we've moved to Argo CD for managing all of our deployments that are running in the cluster. It makes it super simple to push out changes and get them up and running really quickly. We've kind of reworked how we maintain that Kubernetes configuration as well. So previously we stored everything in Terraform. That was really slow. And now we just have a state repository that Argo CD will pull in from. We're also largely using Kustomize for our configuration over Helm. There's a few reasons for this. The primary one being that Kustomize sticks more closely with how Kubernetes views objects. It has a little bit more of an understanding of what Kubernetes concepts exist, whereas Helm is a little bit more about text templating. So we had this in place for Luma Festival, and Luma Festival gave us a really good stress test of what this system could do. We were able to push out changes. We were able to monitor things really effectively. But there's still, testing at scale is hard. There we go. The actual contents running in the cluster, largely unchanged. We just changed how we managed it. So there's not really too much to say on there. Just as a sort of note, Kubernetes been super great for us. It allows us to scale way up during the convention, so adding a whole bunch more machines and replicas of our services to serve the massive amounts of traffic. And then afterwards, when we're not during the convention, we can scale all the way down, remove all those machines, all those replicas, and we're good to go. We can still run the core services that we need, but just not at the sort of ridiculous levels that we need. And Kubernetes also has a ton of developer tooling that lets us sort of take advantage of DevOps best practices when it comes to sort of the Git flow, maintaining state, maintaining the configuration, getting reviews, being able to sort of roll back changes really easily. So yeah, it's been really fun. Something I see quite a bit, especially when people learn that we use Kubernetes, is why not use bare metal? Why not, go out and rent a bunch of servers in a data center? And as I mentioned before, it's harder to scale. We don't really know what to expect every convention. We're constantly growing. The requirements shift slightly, depending sort of what the back-end and front-end teams require for their code to run. And it's also really, really difficult to bring bare metal back down for the off-season level of scale that we need. It also sort of consolidates points of failure. I know it's maybe a little bit weird to say that in this context, but I mean, we've seen data centers go up in flames when we've had OVH had that massive incident. We don't really want to think about that. We don't really want to have to deal with that. So we stick to the cloud, and we kind of trust the cloud to do what it does best, which is abstract that management away. And we're also volunteers. So like I said, the less we have to worry about, the better. We can just kind of abstract a lot of that management somewhere else. Here's a somewhat simplified version of our infrastructure or our Kubernetes cluster, how it's currently set up. A few key things here. You can see we have a few services on the outside that we're talking to. So we have things like GitHub up in that top corner. That's talking to Argo CD. We've got MySQL, Graylog, Squid Proxy. A lot of these, you may notice, are largely unchanged from last year. A few notable differences is we're using external DNS to manage a lot of our DNS records, so we can very easily update that using Kubernetes. We've also got an application in there called External Secrets, which allows us to pull in secrets from Vault and use those as sort of native Kubernetes secrets, which is super, super helpful. But yeah, so largely unchanged. We're using a lot of the same services on the outside. Again, it's mostly about how we manage those services that we focused on improving. So Furality Sylva opening ceremonies, few notes on this. I know I'm going a little bit quickly, but we do have a lot of content to cover. So, as I mentioned before, we never quite know what to expect for conventions. And as you can see from these graphs, we got a lot of requests very quickly. We peaked at about 200 requests a second on our Fox API and about 358 requests per second on Boop. And then it kind of went down. You may have noticed that the portal wasn't loading. There were some issues logging in. That's largely because our WebSocket connection server kind of overwhelmed Boop, which is our identity provider that Kakias will be talking about shortly. Kind of overwhelmed it. It was a little bit unfortunate. There was just so much traffic that we could not handle it. But we did recover really quickly. So less than 20 minutes to recover. And, invites still managed to go out. So I did see that there were a fair number of people in World for opening ceremonies, which is great. I recognize that the impact was still, it was still there. But we responded as quickly as we could, tracked down the problem. And, one of the biggest things is databases were not our bottleneck this year. So in previous years, one of the biggest things that we've had to deal with is resizing our database on the fly. This year, we just went, you know what, we'll just put everything up before, we'll just stick it at what it was last time, sort of where we ended up in the scaling. That worked out perfectly fine. And we had no real issues with our databases, which was a massive relief because it takes a long time to get those resized. So moving forward, there's quite a few things that we're working on. One of the big things is a custom database cluster that's kind of tuned to our needs and sort of custom fit, so we'll be able to scale it up and sort of optimize it for the loads that we're expecting. Rollin, our database administrator, is working very hard on that. We're also modernizing how we manage servers. So we have a large number of servers that live outside of our cluster to manage services like Vault and Grafana and things like Graylog and stuff. So we're sort of modernizing how we manage that. A lot of them have been set up by hand in the past. So we want to change that to use things like Ansible and Terraform and stuff. We're slowly refining out our cluster as well. It's largely stable at this point. There's not really a whole lot of changes that we need to make besides sort of maintaining the versions and improving our alerting. So one of the big focuses, we've got Nova on as a site reliability engineer who's really been focused on our alerting and reporting side of things. And that's something that has let us have a lot more time in VR and a lot more sleep, which is fantastic. And yeah, so now I'm going to turn it back over to Alo to touch on the streaming infrastructure.
Thank you, Arch.
There you are.
Just to let everybody know, we do have a Q&A channel in Discord. If you are, it's just above general chat, and I already see a couple questions in there, but go ahead and put any you have in there. We'll cover some in the end of the panel. We got one in there now for you, Arch. Does Arch use Arch?
I do not. I actually use NixOS.
Jneos does use Arch, though. And
That's true.
But anyways... Just plugging the Q&A thing. We're not going to read questions from Twitch. So, streaming infrastructure. Of course, this is a virtual convention, so you have to see the panel somehow, and that takes streaming to make it happen. So this is a mission critical service that we need to, it needs to work. Otherwise, you don't have panels. You don't have Club Fin. So, we've made some changes to that, and previously we were using CloudFront with AWS, and it just worked. When we started using it, it was extremely stable. It solved all of our issues with making sure we had enough servers located across the globe for all of our users, because we see the data now in Australia and Europe and Japan and more than just the United States needs to be able to have the stream work over whatever kind of internet connection they have at home. So it's very important that this is very distributed, which is what the D in CDN Content Distribution Network means. So you may have heard it from some other panels or mentioned around the convention, but if not, VRCDN is somebody who we partnered with for Furality Sylva. For the very first time, we have worked with them to build out basically a custom distribution network for us. We're on our own sort of deployment of infrastructure to support our entire convention, and I'm very happy to report it's been a very smooth experience. It has been one of the scariest things, at least for me, to look at and consider, because we had a lot of meetings around this. What are our requirements? What is the SLA? How are we going to make sure that we have enough points of presence everywhere? Because if this goes wrong, everything breaks. There is no more panels. There is no more club. And imagine not being able to load the stream. It's so important, and it's a lot of weight goes into a decision that impacts something when it's already working. And so if it was working before, why change it? Well, if you haven't noticed, the prices on AWS are a bit up there. It is extremely expensive to run CloudFront as your CDN for live video when you stream as much video as we do. I think the last time I saw, we were over 160 terabytes this morning of content streamed just at this event, and thousands and thousands of dollars just for the data transfer. So another bonus we got when we started working with VRCDN for this is we got a lot more metrics. So with AWS, you use their servers, you just send them the stream and they take care of everything else. You don't have any control of the actual servers. So you don't really get much information back. It just says you streamed this much data, that's it. With the metrics we got from VRCDN, we can see exactly how many people are watching every single stream and what country they are in. based on their IP of like, where is our users? We have this many people online in a world right now from these places. It helps a lot. So very appreciative. I'm very happy that it's been a success, and that, we're able to move this forward. Everything in front of that hasn't changed much. We had the streaming panel yesterday, and a lot of you squinted at this picture. I was watching in the theater, and I understand you couldn't see anything on it. So I zoomed in a little bit just to help you out until you can get to the YouTube VOD. But basically, mostly unchanged from last year. But all of our streaming infrastructure for our OBS and vMix and all of that is in basically VMs in AWS using their physical graphics cards that they have available. It all gets pushed through down to OBS, which then outputs it to VRCDN, where it's transcoded in from its original state of 1080p 30 FPS to 720 and audio only, as well as some other things going on. But most of this is the same up into VRCDN. VRCDN is the new thing after delivering it from our output to your home ISP. Oh, we got some metrics in here. So we peaked at about 2.621 gigabytes per second during opening ceremony. Don't know if that'll be our largest spike, but that was definitely very noticeable. A lot of people were tuned into that event. I think we had over like 7,000 people watching in real time during opening ceremonies. So that was crazy. So we were watching that and saying, hey, do we need to upscale the streaming? But it handled it fine. Glad to know. And is this the last slide? Uh-oh. Okay, it worked. All right. So enough of infra. We're going to talk about backend. Where is Cacius? Come on over.
I actually unmute my mic, Lord. Oh. Hello, I'm Cacius. I'm a little bit. Yeah, so I'm not becoming a weird monster with y'all merged with me. No, I'm Cacius. I'm the backend team lead. I have Kanika. Lord, my memory is failing me today. Canyon. Ben over there. Benicle James. Lord, I'll go over them as we go on. I'm sorry. Very bad memory. So, backend powers most of the things behind the scenes for the convention, so we haven't changed much. I'll bring up the largest change we've had since, though pretty much we have the Fox API. It handles all the in-convention tasks from shooting your invites to letting you see your instances or seeing the schedule. We also start building version 2 of it, which is actually powering the weather system across all the VRChat instances, allowing all of them to be synced with each other. We have the Fox Pause, which is all the asynchronous. It's the exact same as last ones. They send out your invites. They handle when you click quick join, it finds the right instance and throws you in there. Keeps all the instance counts updated. It's what keeps your friends list kind of updated. It kind of. And also handles giving you all your roles. So when you link your Discord with the Fox portal, it gives you all your convention roles. We also have Wolf API, which is pretty much have been built from the ground up thanks to Connie to support all of the out of convention needs. So the DJ applications, a lot of our the team page on the main website, all of that is hosted on Wolf. We have Boop, which is our new identity provider that was built in-house. It handles external connection linking, so all the Patreon members, when you hit that link Patreon button, you actually get redirected through Boop to link your Patreon, so it knows who you are, and it also handles our centralized roles and permissions, so all the team members and staff members and creative team can get where they need, and we know what permissions they have. Then we have our Fox Socks, our socket server that kind of broke opening ceremony a little bit. Probably going to have to optimize that, but it handles all the real-time instance updates. So when you're on the instance page, when you see the numbers update real-time, that's Socks, as well as when myself or another staff member pushes notifications in the top right of your Fox portal, it's Socks sending those to you. So we also have the Furality Asset Manager, which Ben created. It's how you're downloading all the Furality assets, the Patreon assets, the badge maker, the Sylva shader. I bet all of you have used it. It was programmed by him to work with our APIs and use Boop so you can sign into it and it knows who you are. Though we'll get a bit more in depth with that later when it comes to that section. So our external services. So we didn't build these, though we primarily maintain them and set them up because we know how the software works. We wrote it. So we have Grafana. All the dashboards that we use to monitor the convention and the other teams, like the Club Stream team and attendee services used to monitor VRCDN and the general status, are made by us. So it's Greylogs. So all your invites, all of the socket connections, they're all logged in a central place. Last time I checked, roughly half an hour ago, we log roughly 50 to 60 gigabytes of just raw text data to the logging server. So everything pretty much we know is happening real time. And our developer workflow, I think I forgot to change this slide since I don't, yeah, no. I'll let y'all read this, but I don't think this is our workflow. I think I should blame infra for changing my slides. No, so this is a joke. This was us joking around about our workflow. Our development process, final version 2, is we're not really good at programming in customized files yet. So we have infra help us, but internally, we have a flow to make sure code goes out stable, and like what I did earlier when I broke all the instance and invites, I'm sorry, we actually make sure that doesn't happen. So our developers create pull requests that get automated into the cluster that Arch and the infrastructure team makes. We have another developer review it. We have QA testing, try to find all the bugs in it before it goes into production. Once it's to that state, I go in, I go review it, and once we're all confident that it won't blow something up, we deploy it to production, and there's like a 80% chance it won't, but you never know. But one of the cooler things that
we deploy it to dev for the testing first.
Are you sure
testing
about
happens
that?
at dev. Usually, sometimes we don't have time for dev. Test and prod.
Yeah. Another cool thing that we've added since Aqua is we have automatic synaptic versioning. So we have like version 1.7.3 automatically go to version 8 when we move to production. It's all automated based on our Git commits. Thank Connie for setting all of our repos up with that. So it builds our change logs. You can see a little example of Boop's change log from last month when I was fixing bugs, trying to make sure it's production ready for the convention. So it's all automated and pretty much contains a little snippet of what that version does. And I'm going to hand it off to Ben for the Furality Asset Manager, since I don't know how Unity works and it's a black box. It scares me.
Oh, me neither. All right. Hi, I'm Benical. I'm on the backend developers team at Furality. I'm one of Kakius's professional developer kobolds. But I also do Unity stuff here and there. So this convention I was tasked with making the Furality Asset Manager. And the main question we got when we released it was, why not just keep using Unity packages? What's the point? Like, this is an extra thing I have to install. I don't want to. And the main reason boils down to dependencies, the stuff you have to import before you import everything else, whether that be like audio link, the Sylva shader, all that stuff. We do that automatically now using the Furality Asset Manager, and that's a lot easier on you, trust me. It's a lot easier on our ConOps as well, attendee services, helping you troubleshoot issues you might have. They know what's happening, so it's a lot easier for us to manage that way. We also get updates, auto updates through the Asset Manager. That helps us also push updates retroactively if we find issues. And you may be thinking, why not just use the VCC? And the problem with that is the VCC doesn't support authenticated downloads. So if we want to protect attendees from downloading supporter assets and like non-Patreons from downloading Patreon assets, we need to use a custom solution. So that's what the Asset Manager does. A couple of teething issues when we released. I'm sorry, this is the part where I admit my oopsies. Unity is a big one. It's not asynchronous for a lot of the time. So you can't do two things at once a lot of the time. So stuff like checking for updates. We are running into issues with VRC Fury. We use a very similar update flow. So we were both checking for updates at the same time, Unity cries. Unity doesn't like that. Another thing we ran into was existing packages causing errors. Unity just gives up. The first error it sees, it flops. It's dead. Had enough. So we've pushed a lot of fixes for these. We hope they solved any issues you were still running into. Massive shout out to Senki for pushing a VRC Fury update to help us out and explaining why things might be going wrong. But overall, in conclusion, I think pretty good. Didn't break too many projects, I hope. The general feedback was positive, and we hope to be pushing more updates in the future. One of them, may or may not be being able to download old convention assets. That's a big feature we've been requested for a long time, and this will allow us to do it. So hopefully continues to be a good tool to use.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me rotate around so I temporarily become a weird merge monster. So, back to your normal scheduled programming. We're going to talk about the Fox API. We improved stability. There was no large-scale outages during Sylva. The main outage that took down the portal was Boop. So you could hit the Fox API, but the Fox API couldn't ask Boop who you were, so it kind of just gave up and said, I don't know who you are, go on. We're building version 2 of the API, which is using Nest.js. A large portion of our APIs and internal tools are being built with Nest.js, so we can actually build a core and just spread it across all the projects that need to talk with Boop or Fox API. It's all built. You can just import and get it working. Technically, it's the third iteration of the portal logic since the first one, since we had a singular monolithic program that handled everything, and then we had the version that we're on with the Fox API now, and version 2 should be complete rework. Theoretically, it doubles or triples the max throughput, and we can actually scale it much easier. We moved to Boop for permissions, Patreon linking, and logins. So I'll show you the login screen, but you've probably seen it. All of you have seen it. It pretty much contains your session. All you have to do is hit login once, and you're pretty much good for the convention. And the new world metadata system, so it syncs all the weather across the instances, and we're planning to expand it, so if we ever want to add more synced features across all the instances, we can quite easily. And you can see my little weather system automation script. The weather is controlled by a Google Calendar running on my little automation server, and then it tells the Fox API what the weather should be like every time it starts. So it's a little interesting, but it gets the job done, and it's really easy for us to modify if something goes wrong. So you've probably seen this before. This is Boop, or our identity system. As you can see, the Furality identity system. So Boop stands for the Backend Online OIDC Platform. So we had a lot of growing needs and tools that required like a centralized identity solution, because we have the apply page, which you used to log in with your Discord with. We have the portal, which you logged in with VRChat with. We had pretty much all the attendees' information of who you were was spread out, so it was hard to reference them all together. So this brings it together. It's completely built in-house, except for some external packages that we're using to help handle the OIDC logic. I'm not that talented when it comes to reading RFC documentation. It's fully OIDC compatible and compliant, and I am looking at making it SAML compliant so we can do some more internal tools like Adobe if we ever decide to implement that. And Boop knows everything about you. It knows your linked accounts from Discord to Patreon to your VRChat username, profile picture, your avatar. It persists your sessions, so you can log into the portal, then log into the apply page, and you don't even have to go through VRChat anymore. It knows who you are. It audits everything, so every time you log into the portal or log out or log into apply or hit that consent button, it logs that you did it. So if one of our staff members' accounts are compromised, or yours, we can easily find out what happened and put a stop to it to make sure no attendee data was compromised or anything. It has 2FA support, so we support FIDO and TOTP, like the code on your phone that regenerates. We might be looking at making it publicly soon when we complete the UI redesign. Not sure yet. That's still in the works, as well as roles. So everyone on the Furality team gets roles. This dictate what you can do in the Fox portal. So a lot of the staff members actually can bypass the instance caps for themselves because they're camera ops, or can see more instances like the host instances because they have to run the event. So Boop controls all those roles. So we have some of the services on the right on the little graphic I made that show you what uses Boop. We have the Fox portal, the API, Wolf for our DJ tool when you apply. The apply page, we have the Furality Asset Manager, Grafana and Argo CD. We can log into that using our Boop credentials, and a lot of internal tools. So it's pretty much knows everything about you and us. So it just makes life a whole lot easier when building out more services and solutions. So this is one of the dashboards for Boop. So I actually chose the time period during opening ceremony. You can see we spiked and everything kind of imploded. And so, yeah. So we have active like concurrent sessions that people are logging in, building new sessions with the portal, how long it takes to process, the amount of requests per endpoint, as well as general Redis, MySQL, and how many pods we have running for it. So I think we had 8 or 10 running during opening ceremony, and y'all destroyed all of them, sadly. So I have some work to improve performance on that. So
we're gonna kind of speed up a little bit. We only have 8 minutes left. Oh no! But I will put a copy of all of the slides if you miss anything in the Q&A channel, so you can take a look at it as soon as we're done.
Mm-hmm. I'll speed up. So we have Wolf. Pretty much the API that Connie wrote. It's built from the ground up. It handles all your applications, the team page on the main website, the dealers then and avatar showcase uploads, as well as our DJ submission and rating. So when all the DJs upload their sets, it randomized it, made it anonymous, so there was no like preferential treatment or anything like that. It was completely anonymous for the DJ judges. And that's it for backend. So
yeah.
Let me squeeze back over here.
Yeah,
So front-end team. Like Kaki said, I don't have a lot of time to read who are in the Furality.org/team. If you want, it's there. So what is front-end? It is everything that you see on the screen, that you can click, you can touch, you can read, you can look at inside the browser. So we use React and Next.js to try to make stuff easier. They are a tool, kind of popular, that makes us able to deliver great experiences without compromising our workflow with a lot of complexity. So our usual workflow, when everything goes right, we open up the IDE, commit to the GitHub, it gets somehow into the Git flow process, which is that those branches, feature branches that gets merged into the development, and then which after approved gets merged into the production. That gets processed by the GitHub Actions that deploys to Cloudflare pages, and you interact with our work through your browser. So there was a major milestone that we wanted to address as a team. This convention, which was making changes quickly. We needed at least 10 minutes to apply changes, and after installing Unleashed and having all the all the internals of the website sorted out, it became clicking a button, and then instantly it was live for everyone. So another challenge that we always wanted was increasing the number of languages available for you in the website, which in Aqua it was just Japanese. Now you can see that there is also Chinese and German and Indonesian, which we are also working to add Spanish next, and we are kind of lagging behind VR words which already include Spanish. If you have the experience with translation and speak another language that isn't included there, consider visiting team.furality.org in order to know when we are looking for translators. You might be able to contribute a lot. So another thing that was a challenge for us was browsers that they claim to implement a standard. However, the standard are interpreted by each company that develops the browser, and that ends up being a different interpretation sometimes. So we need to test. And shout out to the Mac users from the team who have been giving feedback this whole time. So other challenges that we have on the front-end team is that usability is hard. We can arrange the buttons in a lot of in a lot of ways, and only in few specific ways it looks right. And we need to thank the user experience team for enabling that usability. Testing is hard, debugging is hard, and we have some things in place in order to try to mitigate, but it's not enough. And deadlines comes and we have to organize ourselves in order to deliver a good experience. And saying that, in order to move forward, we need to make our development process better. We need to get better error tracing, in a way that the error that happens in the front end because of the back end can have its history pulled somehow, and provide a good experience for the user who has the tranquility that we are looking towards the whole experience, not only on part in it specific. We also want to provide better and more helpful error messages, and we want to release as soon as we can a photo uploading platform for the photography team, which all of you will have the access to the photos that the photography team takes, and continue doing what we do better. Continue doing what we do best, which is improve every convention. So with those words, I call here Shelly from the user experience team.
The voice in my head says we have a few more minutes, so
I will try to be fast.
Yeah.
right, I will try to be quick. But yeah, so basically, hi, I'm Shally. I am a user experience designer here with Furality, and I'm going to blitz through this real quick. But yeah, so basically, what is user experience design? I, in effect, help design and figure out where to put all the things on the screen. It's my job and the job of Monty, the other UX designer, to help basically ensure the website and all of our tools are usable both by the attendees and by our staff. Basically, it's usability, figuring out what the problems that we need to solve are, getting a good understanding of what that is, basically defining the problem, coming up with ideas on how to solve those problems, testing solutions that we come up with, and just generally providing advice on things like color, word choice, things like that. I have some examples up here of various assets that are created as part of doing user experience design. I'm not going to get too much into that right now. As I said, there are currently 2 UX designers on the team. Myself, I'm Shally. I'm more of a research/interaction design focus. And then there's Monty, who's more UI visuals. But we both do UX design, broadly speaking. And so we both have provided a lot of feedback on like the look and feel, the layout, the button labels for all of the things that we see currently on the Fox portal. Working on the admin tools that the folks in HR work with. I work with Kakius in order to provide general layout suggestions for the booth tools. And we worked, one thing I do want to take time to shout out is working with Aurora on building like accessibility improvements for all of our systems. That's an ongoing effort, but Aurora has been instrumental in that effort, and so huge shout out to her. She's been so super duper helpful in that regard. We are also looking to the future, talked a bit about an image platform. I personally want to improve the onboarding experience on the Fox portal, making it so that our design component system is more easy to work with, and just providing more guidelines, just making it so that there's fewer decisions that need to be made. Anyway, I'm speeding through things real quick. Here's just a quick example of a graphic that would be created as part of, like I said, problem space defining. I'm blitzing through stuff real quick. And here is a quick prototype that Allo created for this photo platform that we had spoken about, just to give you an idea of how we could create a visual layout. And so just broadly speaking, some things that we learned over the past 6 conventions and a festival. VR usability is hard, large buttons, making it so that there's fewer clicks involved. We have a lot of users across a lot of countries, age experience levels, accessibility needs. We have to make sure that we can support everybody. And sometimes things don't go as planned. As Vinur mentioned, we have to be careful about our error messaging, handling problems gracefully. That's something that we're continuing to iterate on. And just broadly speaking, we can only do so much before each con. It's ultimately a problem of too much to do, not enough time or people to do it. And so we've been prioritizing the big things. And so yeah, I feel like we made a pretty good progress there. So anyway, that's my thing. I'm going to hand it back over to Allo.
Yeah, just to show that off a little more. So this prototype's actually been expanded on by Monty, who has had more than my 15 minutes with Figma. For sure. But this is sort of a little sneak peek of the photo system we're working on. And, we know we've seen the messages after every event. Where are the photos? And we hope to have this out as soon as we can. But what we're planning to do with this system and the photos that we're taking will make a lot of sense of why we're building a tool for it, and we did a lot of searching on what's available in the market, paid and unpaid, self-hosted, SaaS, didn't matter, looked at everything, and it wasn't providing the really awesome experience we want to provide with this tool to the attendees. So I'm hoping this will be out not too long after Sylva, but definitely before our next event. And look forward to it. It's going to have some really cool ideas implemented into it. Going into the retrospective, also thank you, Shally and Monty. There's a lot of software development that happens at Furality for all kinds of things. It's not just the website. It's not just the portal. We showed that graph that had all of those sticky notes for HR. That's just the onboarding process of all of the steps it takes to say, hey, you're welcome to the volunteer team. Here's all the things I have to do to make sure you have what you need to contribute. And we've been working really hard to get prepared to automate it fully. There's some things that are, a lot of things that aren't. And, we are growing so fast. We over 100 people since Aqua have joined the team. And, it's a lot of IT work. It's a lot of organizational work. And I really appreciate Zach and the entire HR team that make it happen possible for us to grow. So here's some memes. We're totally professional. The error page no one was ever supposed to see about Page Disable being in Comic Sans. That apparently was in production. Some of you saw that if you were here early on Thursday. The very awesome tutorial made by the video team, the I Don't Understand the Furality website. That was great seeing that for the first time on Twitter. I loved it. It was funny. But we have, my messages in announcements of like, yo, it'll be fixed soon. Stop clicking. Please let it recover. And during opening ceremonies and scaling things and this email that I get every month of we've run out of free GitHub actions. We'll pay for whatever we need, but it's just like, yo, you're doing so much unit testing that you're out of minutes. And it's like, great. But also I get that email every 2 weeks. And, there is no bug in the Furality portal. It's more of an internal joke. We see the issues and we fix them as soon as we can. And we appreciate the feedback we get. I know that sometimes it's not the kindest when it's in the moment, but we understand we want it to work too. I have 3 minutes until I need to get off the stage, so I will answer 3 questions or something. Let me scroll here. What do we got? If anybody is able to answer, what was the browser extension with the browser extension? It seems like it'd be easy to get user-friendly with VRChat. So VRChat's API is based on your login. So when we talk to the API, it is Furality talking to the API. When I say, hey, VRChat, who are my friends? It's whoever's friended with Furality, not, AlloFox's friends. We can't see your friends, so we can't make that call directly. You have to log in yourself. So the extension in the browser is basically just going to vrchat.com on your browser where you're already signed in as yourself and pulling out the /friends. Using your own credentials. That's why it's sort of a separate system. Let's see. Question, why Cloud for Pages instead of serving content directly? Because it's distributed, it's automated, and it's free. Cloud for Pages does not cost us any money, and it brings our very static website that has there's no back end on the JavaScript that's running on your browser, so it's just serving the content to you. It was purpose built for that, delivers it to you, and all of the backend stuff that needs to happen on our website is made through an API call to stuff we are hosting in Kubernetes. So it really helps out with that process. Let's see, anything else stand out here? Historically speaking, what was the most terrifying moment for the backend team during any Furality that has been run out of the 6 there have been so far? Any stories?
I got one.
What was the scariest thing, Kaki? What about?
When I was running all the runners for my MacBook, so if I ever closed the lid, half of the instance checks and the runners would stop working.
Is that Legends?
No. That was Legends. All of our runners were in PHP, which tend to disconnect from our RabbitMQ server if it's overloaded. So when I have a bunch of terminal sessions running all the PHP scripts and we get overwhelmed, all of them crashed at once. So
now
that
it all
was
runs
fun.
properly.
Yes, it does run properly, but I did not sleep during Legends. I was watching every invite pass through, making sure none of our systems crashed.
That's wild.
It's
I
still
got
wild.
another one
Go
for you,
ahead.
Aloe.
Good.
So I've only been here since December, so I wasn't here for that. But the 1 a.m. Comment from Cacius, GitHub is down.
Luma Festival. Yeah, that was during opening. The very first event during Luma Festival when we were just opening up everything. And of course, there was only one world. Like, registration tripled during the opening sequence, so it's like, okay, great, now we're overloaded server-wise, scale up everything. It was more than we expected at this, new type of event. And GitHub had its outage for like the first time I've ever seen, which really hurt us because we use GitHub Actions to do all of our deployments. So we literally couldn't deploy or update anything while that outage happened. Luckily, the outage was not prolonged, but it was very scary. It also slightly impacted our creative team because they use GitHub to manage the Unity project that all of these worlds are in. So luckily, pushing and pulling wasn't impacted in that outage, but at first we thought it was. It's like, man, we can't even work on the worlds. That was scary. I never thought I'd ever be worried about GitHub going down. That was a good reminder. I think that's all the time we have. Appreciate the couple extra minutes we got to get through everything, and I hope that you guys thought this was interesting or got to have some cool insight into the madness that it is of Furality DevOps. There are a lot of you, and I'm sure you'll hear some cool numbers, whatever they are, during closing. But like during Aqua, we had over 15,000 attendees, and it is a lot of requests. You guys are jumping all over the place, and sometimes you're just like, are you sure you sent it? Are you sure you sent it? And we see those clicks, and maybe just relax, enjoy the meetup you're in a little bit longer, and give Finn head pats in the profile page. I heard that might be a thing. I don't know if people noticed, but anyways, on to the next thing. So I really appreciate everybody for joining us for the panel, and we'll let the events team take it away. Have a good rest of your convention. Bye-bye.